All right, guys, we are live. Welcome to another Run Wild with Us. You know what? Just ask us anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder of Running Wild, which now consists of Running Wild, Rise, Trompe l'oeil, Junkyard Rooster, and we are here with you, myself, and typically a few of our editors. We just actually had another meeting. So we are coming back from that as well as some other places. Sweet. We've got Peter. Woohoo!
Hello, hello, hello. All right.
And awesome. How are you doing, young man?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's Thursday. I got a full plate. Everything's good.
Excellent. Yeah, I was just explaining that we're a bunch of us are coming from our editor session, so we'll probably have people trickle in from that. So
Did I miss something?
yeah, we've got the monthly editor get together where all of our
Oh,
editors. Yeah.
bummer.
Mm-hmm. Nah,
Okay.
it's
Okay. I get off work at 7 o'clock Eastern, so
no,
yeah.
that's understandable. Yeah. Um, so but yeah, so we are just basically I was just gonna explain how if anybody's got any questions, like the whole point of this is so that we can respond to any questions that folks have. Um and in the meantime, and Ben was on the last one, so I'm almost positive he's gonna be on this one. Um but yeah, so what are you up to? What's new and exciting and cool?
New, exciting, and cool. Well, I'm making my progress with the final draft of Brooke, which I believe
Mhm.
is going to change to Veronica Sharp. I'm not entirely sure. It's up to the author.
Okay.
But I'm betting books for Trompe l'oeil Press,
Mhm.
getting ready for the AWP next month or in
Mhm.
March. So yeah, things are moving. Things are going forward. Finally getting settled in the new house. It's been about 4 months, so things are good here. Things are good.
Nice. That's awesome. That is
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah, I managed to fracture my right arm, and of course I'm right dominant because if you do it right. So
Were
I've
you bored or something? You just figured you just want to just
I fell on this concrete curb and literally bounced like off of right here, which is where the fracture is. And
ouch.
yeah, and it was one of those where it hurt like hell. But I always assume that I'm being melodramatic. But like two security guards came running over and they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry." And I thought, I actually said, "What are you sorry for? You didn't do anything."
Any
And
sentence with the word fracture in it is not a good thing. That's a serious thing. So
oh yeah, so I can't. I have limited movement, and like when I go out and about, I have to wear I wear a brace,
mhm.
But it's so funny. Like my husband literally was like, it was like 2 days later, and I couldn't move my arm, and it was so crazy swollen, and it was like black, like this huge black area here, like
Oh,
not. And he was like, "Okay, look, you've done this before. You need to go to urgent care." And I was like, "I'll be fine. I'll be fine." He's like, "Lisa, it's 2 days later. It takes your body that long for it." And like, and everything he's saying is absolutely 100% correct, right? And I go to urgent care, and they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure you fractured it. And you fractured it right where the bones connect, but on this part, you know. Uh, so you really need to not use it." And then
How did you manage that? Like, that's a really strange place to fracture your arm.
right? So it's because remember on New Year's Eve when it was like still raining? Well, in LA it was raining a lot.
Yeah.
I like walking home and I slipped on fallen leaves and I fell
Oh,
on a concrete curb. So it wasn't like I didn't just like fall like this. It's like I hit the tip of the curb, right? And it was one of those falls that was so hard that you like bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I did it. And I also managed to hit my head too, which may explain a lot as well to everyone. Probably just made it a little bit worse than normal. But yeah, I have at least 8 weeks of more limited mobility, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah. But anyway,
man.
Yeah, that's my one big excitement, I guess you could say. And then still editing a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to get back into the flow of my own the book War Dogs, because I was in the middle of like a 3rd round of revisions when I got completely sidetracked because I had agreed to edit all these other things and they basically took over my entire life. But I need to get back into it so that I can actually, finish it and then give it to Ben so he can tell me how much stuff needs to be completely revised.
So I can fix it.
Yeah, damn it. So anyway. Oh, Dr. Diane Schneider says, a typical fracture of humerus when you don't get your hand out. So sorry, a miserable position to stay on to heal. Yeah, that's 100%, Diane. Seriously, it was I didn't put my hand out. It was one of those, like, when you slip and your body just kind of goes whoop. That's exactly like my feet just slipped out from under me. And I was like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. And in my head, I'm like, I'm just being melodramatic. I must be. Like, there's no way this is anything super serious. Because it's a major, large bone, right? Like, and now every time I talk to my husband, he's like, are you okay? What else did you do? What else did you break? I'm like, thank you so much. Yes, I know you're saying this out of love, but still. It won't change the fact that I did it. So anyway. So what have you guys done? What are you guys working on that you're like super excited about? I love how it just got really quiet. Well, I'm finishing up a memoir, which is really more like an essay, a memoir and essays. Actually, 2 different memoirs and essays I'm finishing up right now. And our novella anthologies for 2027. And I'm down to only 2 novellas where I'm waiting for the author to get back to me on my recommended revisions so that we can, move forward. I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be one of those that Ben and I were actually just talking about this about an hour ago. I swear every year there's always at least one writer who's just disappears. Like, we're in the middle of the revision process and they just suddenly just don't respond anymore. And I end up having to do the classic, like, if you don't respond by, February 5th, then we will have to consider this as no longer being included, or, whatever. So I have a bad feeling I'm going to have to do that with these guys because everyone else has been waiting for so long. I mean, I've been editing these, no joke, for almost a year because I'm a fool that accepted that many. So, but that said, there are a lot of really fun novellas in it. And I think both the novella anthology for Running Wild and the novella anthology for Rise are going to minimally be 2 books each, meaning like volume 10, book 1, volume 10, book 2, volume 10, book 3. So I'm also really excited to see what our incredible book formatter does with it. So that should be a lot of fun. So Dr. Diane Schneider says, now a year out, you recommend pitching to book festivals. Are there ones that you recommend to try? I know that various editors attend certain festivals. Are there opportunities to team up with? Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Again, another one that we were actually just talking about. Because Dr. Diane, you actually wrote a more of a memoir, and more on but I would consider to be more on the literary side. So what I'm going to suggest is I am about to put into the comments section a link to a Canva file that has all of, well, at least the ones that I'm aware of, the festivals and Comic-Cons and conferences and so on, where we will have representation throughout the month, throughout 2026. In all, again, in just full transparency, the reality is that we are almost always have representation at these events every year. So it's probably a pretty safe bet for you to reach out to them and let them know that, hey, I'm going to be published with Running Wild, and this is my book, and blah, 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 because they'll know who you're talking about. They've typically, because we're recurring, we're typically at those events every year or every other year, that they'll most likely be very open to having you come and speak. Now, in terms of like events where, like, let's say you're part of a table, or you're basically really there, more so there to sell your books versus there to speak. A huge one is the University of Southern California Festival, the USC Fest. Well, it's LA Festival at USC. We actually also have a table there. So I believe that one's in June. If you want to do that one, we're part of a table that has incredible amount of traffic. I'm wrong. It's in April, the USC Festival of Books, April 18th to 19th. If that's something, Dr. Diane, you're interested in, you're welcome to join me. We would love to have you. I'll see about if you can do a book signing there as well. All the cons, the Comic-Cons, believe it or not, are also very really good to have representation. They're a lot harder to get a table for. And I know you didn't write a comic book, but honestly, you don't have to for the cons, because really almost everybody nowadays publishes in a little bit. They publish a little everything. They'll publish a little poetry, a little, short stories, a novel, a memoir, so forth and so on. I would say also check in with all the major booksellers, and also your libraries. Libraries are getting much more active now, both in terms of having book signings as well as having like author events and publishing events. I was surprised how often I was invited to speak at the Los Angeles library, the Central Library in LA. They actually had a couple of events last year. In terms of, I totally get that you won't be ready until 2027. Most of these guys, so the way they usually work, they'll have their event, and then usually about a month to 2 months after that event is complete, that's when they're going to be actively looking for speakers. So you may just want to go and see when their events are scheduled for in 2026, and then pitch to them whatever kind of speaking engagements you are thinking about. You are more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to brainstorm with you in terms of different events and panels that you may want to do, or you may want to pitch to. Because again, a lot of times it's more about putting the pitch out there. What do you guys think? Peter, Alexa, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I would say totally respect not being ready until 2027. It can also be interesting to go before you're ready. Like last year, I was planning to do what Lisa had just suggested, which was to, observe schedules, maybe go to a couple of things, sort of stick my head in. But a friend of mine convinced me to just start submit just to do it anyway. Now granted, obviously I wasn't there to talk about like a book I had written. They were just like presentations that I then realized I had to actually write and put together and make a slideshow for. And I'm not sure if I super recommend doing that at the very last minute like I did, but if you look into cons that are happening even like this year, if there are any that are happening near you, like mid to late summer or maybe even like late spring, they're probably still accepting applications. Like a lot of them leave their submission things open for a while. Not like the bigger cons, but a lot of the smaller ones. And going to one or two smaller ones, even if you're not actually presenting, but just going and seeing like the schedule and what the presenters are doing, and like it depends on how familiar you are with conventions, I think. But especially the smaller ones where you don't get like run over by a million people storming through every door.
Actually, I totally agree. And believe it or not, a lot of the cons that I spoke at this past year and that I'm speaking at this year, I was asked like a year or two ago to speak, but they didn't, to Alexa's point, they didn't actually start finalizing their agenda for the con or for the conference or for the festival until much, much, much closer. And either because I already had a relationship with whoever it was that is coordinating the festival or the conference, either they reached out to me and said, hey, I would love it if you could do X, Y, and Z. I have these needs. And I was like, yeah, sure. That, because I honestly, let's just put it this way. I'm way older than I look. So I've been around for quite a while and I have a lot of experience. So unless it's something that I absolutely don't know anything about, like if someone was like, hey, I'd love it if you would host a poetry panel, I would probably go, I am not the right person. You need to talk to, like Ben, which I honestly, that is exactly what I would do. Because in full disclosure, when I'm editing poetry, I'm editing it more based on gut feel, because I never studied poetry and poetry structure other than your classic, Mary Had a Little Lamb. So I
love that poem.
Of course you do. But I can't do what Ben can do, which is say, like, this is this type of structure, and this is how this structure is beneficial for X, Y, and Z, or for this purpose, or what have you, right? Because really, he's primarily a poet, but a poet more so like using the poetry structure in order to bring forward other formats, including like more memoir, right? I've never done that. I just know how to edit something like that to give feedback, so to strengthen it. I can't personally do it. I don't know if that in any sense whatsoever, but anyway. But yeah, I mean,
oh yeah, poetry is frightening. I mean, I love writing poetry, and most of what I have written in my like free time has been poetry, but I would have not the first idea of how to give constructive criticism to someone else about their poetry and why either I liked it or I didn't or anything like that.
I can't do a lecture. I can give you feedback because I, of course, have an opinion, but I can't. I can't do a lecture on it or a panel on it. So, but yeah, Diane, definitely follow up with me. Follow up actually with, so Alexa is going to be at San Diego Writers Coffee House as well on Sunday, where I will be as well. So feel free to follow up with both of us. And we're happy to talk through those cons and conferences and so on that are more along the West Coast. So I'm sorry. Yeah, Peter, you guys were going to say something.
I was just gonna say I have notebooks and notebooks of my own poetry, but I have no skilled training in it. And like Alexis, I'd be like, I don't really know what I'm editing here or how to actually give them positive feedback, positive or negative feedback, because I mean it would be just by gut, like Alexis said, because I don't know the forms or anything beyond that. I just know that I've enjoyed writing it throughout the decades, and it's just my own thing. And when Ben said, "Hey, take a look at some of these poems," I'm like, this isn't really my forte, and I can give it a shot, but it's not going to be anywhere near professional. So, fiction, nonfiction, literary fiction, that I can handle. That I'll dive right into. But poetry, I mean, that takes a certain ear, a certain eye, and some nuance that I just don't possess. I don't think.
Yeah, there's a lot of subjectivity to it as well. And if it doesn't make sense to you or it doesn't appeal to you, and Peter and I have had this conversation before with the esoteric poetry, I don't want to read it. I don't care. But if it's a good story and exoteric, then you have my attention, and that's a reason I lean towards the warrior poets, because they have an experience to tell you about. And it doesn't involve their genitals or somebody else's genitals and how they feel about it, because that's what publishers see, and that's why publishers don't print it. They don't publish it because who cares? But you do get the very micro. The people speak about microaggressions, and they have a following, and they celebrate when they sell 500 books, which is good. But back to Diane's question and Diane's situation, she starts small because you've got those medical groups that meet once a month and go in and talk to them, because you're not only selling your book, you're selling a experience that they can relate to. And that's what your memoir is all about. But that group of medical field professionals want to hear somebody else's story, and you'll draw them in because it's a shared experience. And that's where I would say start small and then build up to 2027 when you're ready to go, and you can elbow your way through those people at the doorway that Alexa's talking about trampling over you. They won't trample over you then. They'll let you go first.
And to Ben's point, like when I first started speaking at cons and workshops and so on, and Diane, you and I can talk about this, and you, me, and Alexa can talk about this more on Sunday. What I did is I actually pulled together a pitch deck that explained like who I am, my background, the different, and I put out example either panels that I could facilitate or workshops that I could teach. And, some examples of things that I had done in the past. And I picked a couple, to Ben's point, I picked a couple places that they weren't super big, right? It was a little more like regional or local conferences. And usually I pick places where I already knew a speaker, or I already knew one of the people who, work behind the scenes. And, I just tossed it out there like, hey, I would love to do this, blah, 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 blah. And that there's a nice safety in doing it that way, because I knew that by doing that, the people, it was local. So, I knew the place. but also B, I felt comfortable in reaching out to the individuals who brought me in and asking them for feedback on the topics that I brought forward. And I also felt comfortable in using BarCon as a reason or a way to ask both attendees and other speakers, hey, what have you not seen that you think is an important topic for someone to talk about or a panel to be brought forward? And that actually helped me a lot. It both helped me in terms of honing in my panels and my workshops, but it also made me more so aware of where there were needs, because I had my own opinion as to what was needed, right, and what I thought could be used. But especially like at the American Library Association, I typically host a table there, and some book signings, and just talking to the librarians at the American Library Association, to Alexa's point, just wandering around and saying, hey, how are you? What are you into? I found out a ton about what's in demand at the libraries, and like the different audiences, like the different ways to pitch things, where they're going to find the greatest benefit, if that makes sense. So great question. I'm like reading all the personal stuff. Deborah Groshaw, I hope I didn't just botch your name. I apologize. Do you offer pre-sales and pre-orders as part of your marketing strategies? Oh, absolutely. We always have our books available for pre-order, both at a retail level. Usually it's minimally 4 to 6 months before the book is available. But we also, like, if you're the author or you're the editor and you're interested in doing like a pre-sale, or you're going to do an event or something like that, just reach out to one of the acquisition editors. So like myself, well, actually reach out to myself or Evangeline, our product manager, and we can work with you on getting you the books that you need for that special event. Usually the minimum number of books that we need to order for a special event is the last time I talked to our distributor and printer, IPG, it's usually at least 10 to 15 books minimum, which usually isn't difficult to do, because honestly, even if you don't sell the books at that event, you'll have them on hand for other events. And honestly, it's a great way, giving away paperbacks to people who are interested in it. And it doesn't have to be an influencer. It can even be someone who, like, let's say they host like piggybacking on what Ben was saying about, if you've got a memoir that's about the medical community, and there's like a self-help group that's focused on those who are within the medical community, you could give away paperbacks to those who host the event, or offer it as like a special giveaway,
door prize.
Yeah, like a door prize. Thank you. Yes, like a door prize. And that actually usually goes over really well, especially for something like a memoir, because it is, a lot of the memoirs that we do publish are very honed in on a specific experience. And it's typically an experience that it's a voice that people haven't heard before, or haven't heard that take on it. And there's usually a pretty high demand within the community to read it, right? And now that I've completely blathered, I don't know, Alexa, Peter, Ben, what do you guys think?
It's a matter of well, especially Diane, for example, in the medical field, it's a shared experience that isn't everybody's experience, but it's going to make them remember a situation that was similar to that situation, and they'll get it, and they'll appreciate the the initiation to think back and say, oh, I know exactly what she's talking about. Or, I don't know what she's talking about at all, but I can imagine. And so it's still that shared human experience that makes it work. And that's what the memoir, especially in a professional field like that you've got that audience already. Now it's the people that don't have that experience that is still interesting to, because they know what a doctor is. And now, how did the doctor get there? It's not here, drink out of this flask and you're a doctor. It's a lot of hard work and long hours, and that's what's
I
in
wish.
the humor.
I wish. Hand me that flask. I'm ready to make a lot of money.
I agree with Ben, because it's an insight into worlds that you don't know. Yes, for the people who are in that community, you understand the language, you understand the procedures, but for a patient sitting in a doctor's office, I mean, you're just sitting in a room until the doctor comes in, they take care of you, and then they leave the room. It's like, well, what happens behind the scenes? You know, what's going on that we don't know anything about? And have that kind of insight into whatever profession that we're talking about or whatever lifestyle we're talking about. I mean, it's fascinating when it's well told, because you're learning stuff that you don't have any access to whatsoever, which is partly why fiction works so well, because you're inviting readers into worlds they've never seen or experienced before.
Completely agree with everyone. Absolutely. So out of complete curiosity, what has been your most favorite thing to work on so far, and why? And it doesn't have to be something for Running Wild, but just like in general.
That's so hard. I feel like I've worked on such a variety of things that, like, just picking one is. Okay, I worked on
the poetry anthology
psychiatry
right now.
textbook. Oh,
No.
Am I cutting out?
No, you're fine. No, go ahead.
Oh, I worked on a psychiatry textbook. And I actually had a lot of fun doing it. It was a sort of a mix between psychology, linguistics, things.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily understand all of it, but I learned so much.
Okay. How about you, Ben? You were saying the poetry anthology?
Yeah, the poetry anthology right now is it's interesting to see what others write as poetry, and to see it and not necessarily be judgmental about it, or even editing and saying, well, this is how I would say that, and because it's at this point it's their work, and it fits in that anthology, and going through, I think we're up to 40 poems for one anthology. We're still a little shy, but that right now is something that's interesting to work on. And then, of course, that goes into Mary's piece, Planting Onions, which is the letters and poetry that are melded together. But then I look back on Rudolfo's first utopian. Well, that's not it. It's not utopian. So Obsidian Waste is the name of it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the approach to it was, he had a lot of prose that was a lot of run-on ideas and very complex sentences. And I asked him, what if we broke this up and made it into some fragments, because it's reading like it's future discoveries of parchment and the kind of tabloid that you would find in the Dead Seas and the scrolls. So let's make it look that way, and let's chop up some of this prose into more poetic language and offset it, leave it blank, and let the reader experience it as a parchment that's been eaten away, but you're finding it in the future. And let's call each section scroll 1, scroll 2, scroll 3. And so that was fun to do. And especially when he said, yeah, let's do it. That was rewarding because it broke up I think it helped the reader ultimately, because it's not just that free flowing, jump in and hang on, here I go. It breaks it up to give them smaller ideas to think about as they go. So that was fun.
Cool.
Hey Ben, do you limit yourself in the anthology to certain formats for the poems, or how much freedom or leeway do you give to the individual poets?
Oh, it's wide open. I've got some paragraph poems. I've got some centered poems. I've got haiku in there. So it's wide open. It was again. It went back to that criteria that we put. Don't send us anything esoteric. Tell us something. Tell us what's happened, and make it interesting, make it accessible. I guess that's a good way to say it.
Accessible is a good word. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that people can understand what the poet's point is.
Yes, because so much of the poetry isn't, for whatever reason. So I went to the wrong school.
How about you? How about you, Peter?
Well, the book I'm working on is really honed into an impressive novel that I'm really impressed with what the writer has done with it. I actually gave them another round of drafts that I've never given to an author before, and what's emerged is so sharp, satirical, self-deprecating, and yet just completely in awe of a certain character, that it's really amazing what the author has done with just a few suggestions and some questions that I've given her. So that's been interesting to work on. Pushing through to finish the final draft and turn it over to the author to get her approval to submit it, because I really want this to be published. Yes, it'll take 12 months, but if it can come out in January, February, March next year, it can really cause a stir. I really think it'd be a big deal. And as for my biggest challenge, it's the novel that I'm working on. It's about the president of the United States, and has nothing to do with the individual who's in office right now. But it's something I've been working on for years, and I've been wrestling with it for years. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, take my brain out of my head, put it to the side, and just write. Not going to overthink things. I just want to write. I want the book finished. It's at over 400 pages now, and I keep restarting the first 20, 30 pages. And I know what I'm doing. I'm just getting in my own way. And that's the problem that I see with a lot of writers, is they get in their own way. They think about what they want to do, as opposed to letting the story be what the story wants to be, and let the story come out, and then go back and edit it, hone it, shape it to where it really wants to shine, where it can really shine. So I'm struggling with my own work, just to be honest. I mean, that's something I think we all do. It's just something that happens, something you need to work through, and trust yourself that you'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Barbara.
Hi.
Awesome to see you.
Awesome to be seen.
So, before I jump into asking you this same question that I just asked everyone else, I just want to point out, I just put into the chat. So we actually just posted a series of videos of some of the frequently asked questions that we get from our authors, and you can go and you check it out. Each one actually has a title, so that you can see what the question is that's being addressed. And then we also just posted a playlist of oh wow, that hurt. Of frequently asked questions that we typically get from retailers. So definitely, I'd say some of the questions that we're talking to now, we also address within that. But I'd say please feel free to go ahead and check those out.
Okay.
So all that said, so Rebecca, fabulous. Barbara, what has been your absolutely favorite project to work on? It doesn't have to be a Running Wild thing.
My absolute favorite.
That's an easy one, right?
There's been Actually, building my house. But more recently,
Well, I more so.
I would say the last book I edited for you guys, the last one I'm working on, was fascinating to me because it's set in a really important period of my life, and I can really relate to it, and the author's very interesting. Although I will say all of the last authors that I've edited for have been very interesting people.
Very cool.
And some reason I am not hearing on this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to give my classic cop-out answer. I love all the books that we published because we typically have hundreds that we get in terms of submissions that all of us are like, I could see us, taking this on. And we're, really excited about it. But honestly, I would say one of my all-time favorites anthologies, because it actually contains. I can hear myself. Yeah. Yep. That was it. Sorry about that. My all-time favorite was I adored working with Ben on the very first. It was actually a poem, but he had submitted it as a part of our novella anthology, and I just thought it was fabulous. So that's one of those that it's one of my all-time favorites. In part because he does things in it that I would have never thought to do, and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. It's a lot of fun. How cool. So and I personally, I get bored very easily. So if I read something and it challenges me and it makes me not only think, but it also makes me think from in a creative perspective, and I can learn something from the individual's work. I love that. I adore that. So yeah, that's basically the answer to that question. So cool. Oh no. I don't know why that echo keeps happening, but anyway, so again, anybody, we only have actually only like 17 minutes left, so if anybody has any questions for us, please feel free, go ahead and pop those questions into the comments section of whatever venue, wherever you are watching this. And I will be more than happy to repeat that said question, and then we'll all take a chance or take an opportunity to respond to it. In the meantime, I don't know, guys, does any of you guys have any questions for each other?
Yeah, I'd like to ask about poems, and how do you judge them? How do you say more than this was a poem and I liked it or didn't?
I'm gonna start with Ben since he's the poet amongst us.
Yeah, well, I think in that case where you said it's a poem and I liked it, you're absolutely right. There's really no value in telling somebody that. I mean, it may stroke an ego, but to ask yourself, well, what about it makes it work, and why do I like it? What it's just words. What's appealing to me, and I'll fall back to an example of Keith Douglas, the old World War II poet. He wrote a poem called "Vergiss mein nichts." Forget me not in German, but my Kentucky German is coming through today. But when I read it, I didn't write anything for 3 days. I said, "What's the use? It's written." So when you have that kind of response to it because of what it says and how it makes you feel, then you have that connection to it on an emotional level that makes you think something, feel something, maybe even do something. Or in my case, not do anything. I didn't write for 3 days. So you look for that kind of connection with it. And that's that may lead to a small group of followers that really like your work because of it speaks to them at that microcosmic level. But so then you want to expand it out into what makes it touch people on a more, I keep talking about the human experience, the shared human experience. That's where our stories are. That's where our humanity is. And poetry has a quick way in through there without having to read 150,000 words. It can have that same kind of impact. Does that make sense, Alexa?
Yeah, it does. No, it's you were going to get into the like technical elements, all the things about poetry that I don't understand because I never took a class on it. So like why this stanza type as opposed to that stanza length, or why this rhyme scheme as opposed to that rhyme scheme. Like, I guess I'm trying to get my head around when you're editing for someone and you're trying to make suggestions and you're like, hey, this is a great topic, you've got some great words and they're in a good order, I like the order in which you've put your words, but it could be better. Like, how do you give that kind of feedback about how a poem could be transformed to be more effective?
And I'll go back to the last song of Nina Simone that I edited. And the first thing I did, I asked the author to meet with me on Zoom to read her poetry because I wanted to hear her the way she read it. Because, and I've talked about this before with the cadence, my Kentucky cadence is not the same as somebody from New England. But so I can't tell somebody from New England that, well, you think about this because it's not, I need to know what language and what patterns they're using. And is it effective for their cadence and what they intend? I'm a great fan of the internal rhyme because it helps swing ideas around for me. And so you find that in the models that you like. And Jack Kerouac was great at using a lot of prose, but he could make it interesting because of the inflection and the swings that you felt along the way. Like, San Francisco, you're a bum in a beat brown suit, can't make a woman on a rainy corner. And, that's, you just feel it. You feel San Francisco when he says it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is the techniques and the choices that the author makes, the poet makes, and which makes it tough to critique anyway. So you're really just making suggestions and saying, what about this word, or using a contraction there to make it flow and sound better, sound more better. And I'll catch myself just listening to my own voice in my head. A lot of what I say comes out in 7 syllables. Mm-hmm. And so you start counting your syllables, and if your language pattern is in seven syllables anyway, that's what you use, and that's what you write in. And you don't try to make it fit some theory, because I have no idea how to make iambic pentameter work.
I was just about to ask about the pros and cons of iambic pentameter. Yeah.
So just if you want 10 syllables, make it sound like you're talking, and don't worry about that. This is poetry according to Ben. Don't worry about the 1,000 years of iambic pentameter and Shakespeare. Shakespeare. You're not Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. Be you, and tell your story in the rhythms that you use, because we all have rhythms and cadences in our voice. What's the best voice? It's I've here in Albuquerque. I've had the chance to be in the classroom with native students, and their cadence is not my cadence, but they've got some good stories to tell in their own cadence, and they have a voice. So as editing poetry, that's what I look for. Let me hear the poet's voice, and let's build from there. Let's make that count. Call that victory.
Yeah. Peter, what do you think?
Well, after listening to Ben's wisdom, I mean, from my perspective, my poetry is my own voice, and I make my breaks where I think they fit, where they make the most impact to me, where I hope that the words will make that same impact to whatever reader I happen to show the piece to.
Mm.
A lot of my stuff is private and written for me, but I'm sure sharing it wouldn't hurt anybody, wouldn't embarrass me all that much, but it's more of a gut, unprofessional way of approaching it. It's how my ear hears it. Like Ben would say, he might want to hear me read out my poem so you can hear the flow as I see it, as opposed to how it looks on the page. I mean, again, this is something I've never studied. This is just something I've never been able to get away from. It's just something that needs to come out of me as much as stories do. But I really can't speak on it at length because it's not something that like I said, I've got journals, I've got notebooks stacking up probably this high of stuff I've written over the past few decades, but nothing that is worthy of like really print or publishing kind of thing, in my opinion. Maybe that's a little too self-deprecatory, but it's self-deprecating. But I mean, I have had pieces published, but it's nothing that I can really crow about. I mean, I read Ben's poems, and like I read them one shot, I'm like, holy cow, he's got it. He nailed it. I understood where he's coming from. I understood his point. I got his images. I got as much impact as I could have from his writing, and I'm just not at that level, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine at the level that I'm on, and just pottering about writing the poetry I write.
Barbara, what do you think?
I don't do poetry.
Okay. I mean, I was going to say I agree with both Alexa. I mean, I actually did study poetry, but it was so long ago. It was like high school, college, and let's just say that was quite a long time ago. So I don't typically do poetry intentionally because I feel as though unless the poet either asks me to be the editor or it's someone I have a very good relationship with, like with Ben, he and I usually edit his works, but it's very much more like what Peter's describing. It's like a gut feel, right? Like I acknowledge the cadence that he has. I acknowledge the tempo. I acknowledge the emotions that he's bringing forward. And I may make a suggestion here and there, and we've done that before, but my suggestions are usually more at a higher level, right? Almost more of like a stanza, either a stanza level or like an overarching thematic. Like, is this working within the theme of that poem? Which is why I don't volunteer myself. Like when Peter and Ben came to me and said, hey, let's do a poetry anthology. And I said, hey, as long as it's not me editing it. Like if you guys want to drive it, that's awesome. Go, then let's do it. That's why, because like I said, I don't feel comfortable to be the one to make those kinds of calls, especially for poetry, unless I know I have a pre-existing relationship with the poet. And so when I'm using or I'm attempting to articulate recommendations for revisions and I'm not using professional language around it, they'll understand what the hell I'm talking about. Right. I don't know. I mean, Ben, you've worked with me before, obviously. Well, is what I'm saying making any sense?
Yeah, because there's once you pick up on a poet's techniques, you can write poetry and never use any grammar or punctuation.
Mm,
Let your line breaks be your commas.
Mhm.
And you can use that where I want you to slow down. I'm going to break the line and make you slow down. Or if
Right.
I want you to see the one word that works in an ambiguous way, I may use the line break there with that was just, and then go into something else. It's either what it was just or was it only, and it plays off both. So you see those techniques going on.
Mhm.
I heard somebody the other day say that the M dash was named after Emily Dickinson because she used them.
That's so
It's not
funny.
true,
Someone did
but
not
you want to
say
give
that.
Emily credit for using M dashes, and okay, Emily, yeah, they're named after her, but it's not
Oh
true.
boy.
But there's a documentary with Bob Geldof, the old rock and roller. He played Pink in Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Mm,
He is looking at the work of W.B. Yeats, and I can look at Yeats all day long and okay, I'm going to put this away. But when I heard Bob Geldof talk about Yeats, it made sense. I said, oh,
mhm.
why don't I read it that way? Why am I not reading Yeats like Bob Geldof?
Yeah.
Because it's that Irish tongue that makes a difference. And
Mhm.
you can read Yeats and all the rest of the grits, and you'll be fine. But sometimes it just takes hearing it in a different way, in the way it was intended, that
Mhm.
just helps you get it.
No, that totally makes sense. And yeah, and I've had times when there were actually, and this is true not just for poets, but for those who are writing prose that have a very specific tongue to it, that I may not get what they're doing when I'm trying to read it, independent of hearing them actually speak their words. But yet, when I actually do hear them uh, tell one of their tales, all of a sudden, boom, right? It connects, and I can hear the prose, and I can hear their cadence, and it suddenly makes so much more sense. Now, that doesn't happen. I mean, it doesn't happen frequently, but that's usually more so indicative when it is someone who's using. I mean, and Ben was joking earlier about having more of a Southern drawl, right, and then bringing that forward. It typically is true when it is a writer who is writing more the way that they would speak, and they do have a very specific uh, slang that they use within it. We've actually had I've had times when we've published works that were written in a first person point of view, and it was intentionally written in the cadence and in the language of, like, let's say Nolans, right? And if you've never heard someone who has a Nolans drawl, then you're going to read this and go, why does this have so much slang? This doesn't make any sense. There are all these typos. What the hell's wrong with this thing? And that can be true for all different types of slang and terminology. But unless you realize that's what they're doing, the author's intentionally doing this to bring that forward, to help you dive you into that world, then you could get totally lost. And that's with anything. That's short story, novel, novella, poetry, anything that has a very heavy language, a very heavy cadence to it.
The vernacular.
Thank you, vernacular. Thank you. Yes. Wow. And with that,
I knew big syllable words, did you?
now, hey, at least you knew them. Right now, I'm having problems with words like bird. So hell, at least one of us remembered. We've got less than a minute left. I don't know. Is there anything that you guys want to comment on, or anything that anyone watching, that you'd like us to address?
I could use more submissions to Trompe l'oeil.
Oh, okay. You know what? Let me do this for you. I am going to put into, I'll put in the link a link to our webpage where you can submit to any one of our amazing imprints, and also submit to right now you can actually submit to the Alma Book Award if you're with Alma College. But yeah, check that out and definitely send us your work. Excellent.
Awesome.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said awesome. Great call.
Oh, cool. Woo. All right. And with that, thank you guys. Greatly appreciated. Admittedly, next week I will be at the Superstars of Writing conference in Denver, Colorado. I think we will still have this. I admit it'll primarily depend upon whether or not I am actually going to be on a panel or doing a course at the same time. So I'll be able to let you know if we're going to still have our Ask Us Anything probably on Monday or Tuesday. Probably Tuesday, because I think I leave for Denver on Tuesday. So with that, love you guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your great questions. Thank you, everybody on here, for all your fantastic comments. And looking forward to the next time where you get to ask us whatever the hell you want.